right, Jake, are you ready? We are almost starting exactly on
ready.
time.
Is there an intro, or do you just start talking?
I think we're starting. I think people are going to hear this. People are going to hear this. You know, last time, Jake Johannsen here on No Laugh Track Podcast with me for episode 333 here at Acme Comedy Company.
What kind of system of notebooks do you have that you can call that up so quickly? It seemed like 5 minutes ago you didn't know how many times I'd been on, and now you know the episode number the last time I was on.
Well, you know, actually, in between that mini conversation we had a few minutes ago, I actually looked through a picture that I take and a screenshot of how many episodes you have been on. So
okay,
yeah,
all right. What episode is this?
This is 333, but the last one you were on was 240.
333 is 240, so just under 100 episodes.
Yep, it's almost 2 years exactly, Jake.
Where does the time go? I was talking
March
to
2017.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Last time you were here.
This is the I don't want to just talk about. We're all aging at supposedly the same rate, if you believe time. But it's kind of. I feel like now I'm at a weird point in my life where I've known people that I wouldn't really consider my great friends, but I've just known them for 25, 30 years.
Sure.
Well, I mean, we're friends.
Yeah.
We don't hang out all the time. We see each other. And so when you see somebody that you only see every once in a while and you can just kind of leapfrog back in time, the person that you see every day, it's hard to remember, like, what was it like 10 years ago when we were together. But with this person, I only got memories that can jump back. So I'm having a real kind of personal time travel memory hole problem.
Okay.
That I'm experiencing right now. And Minneapolis is a great place for that because
lots of history.
Well, I graduated from high school in La Crosse, Wisconsin, so I got people that I know from high school coming up here, and then I got comedy friends that I know from here and comedy friends that I know from when I started in San Francisco that married someone from here coincidentally and now live here, and other friends that I've met in LA and that have moved back that oh my God, it's a real. I'm hallucinating a little bit.
You've never lived in Minnesota, correct?
Well, except for the 5 days at a time every year for how many years? I've never lived in Minnesota. No.
Residence in doesn't mean resident.
Yeah, well, that's not how I do it. But I get how you and the rest of the English-speaking world talk about lived somewhere. But I feel like I've been on the. I spend every 10 years I'm spending 3+ years in a hotel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've lived in Minnesota for a few months.
Fair enough.
In my life.
Fair enough.
Here for a few months.
Do you, what happened, so the last time you were here, you were traveling around with that fancy camera of yours. Do you remember that? We Facebook Live the first 5 minutes.
Where we would kind of zoom in and out?
Yes. Where's the camera?
I didn't bring the fancy camera. I still have the fancy camera, and it's called a Mevo, and I really like it. But it's got face recognition technology, which that's what allows it to pick a shot whether we're both in it.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that.
On you.
Yeah.
And it's great here because there's nothing else that looks like a face. But if I do it in my office where I've got some posters from music shows I saw and action figures, and it'll just like. I'll be talking to you, and then it'll just zoom in and do a close-up of a Tyrion Lannister doll.
Yeah. Your Cindy Crawford poster.
Oh, God, I wish I had a Cindy Crawford poster. I guess I don't, because if I did wish that, I could have that. That's not like something you have to long for now.
Right.
If you find yourself saying, I wish I had a Cindy Crawford poster, and you have $100, you should have that poster by the day after tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I don't let it just sit on your wish list. Make it happen.
No, make that happen.
Make it happen.
Life is short. I mean, take it from me. I'm time traveling back through my life, going over things that I wishes and dreams, and that Cindy Crawford poster. I've decided I don't really wish that I had that.
Okay.
But I am going to look at one online after this just to make sure that I don't want it.
That's called research. That's a good thing. So I had I want to ask you something here about this. I had a day the other day. I had a day.
You had a day the other day?
I had a day the other day. There were a few. It was an accident-prone day, and I want to know if when I tell you this, if this jogs any memories of
accident's a funny word, because if you say that to a 2-year-old,
yeah,
it means they went to the bathroom in their pants.
Very true.
But you didn't have that kind of accident.
You don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
I was about to share that. No. Okay. I was watching side note here. I was watching an old episode of The Simpsons the other night, and the comic book guy. Do you remember that character? I'm having an episode, and then he follows it up with worst episode ever. I love that. I'm having an episode as he's clutching his heart.
The Simpsons is great, but they got ahead of me at some point a long time ago, and I gave up.
You gave up?
I'm a guy who feels like he should be able to watch all of them. Like, I love Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
They've almost made too many of them now, and I have to stop watching them because I can never watch all of them now.
So is this a mental thing where you need to complete? It's all or nothing?
I guess I don't consider myself to be on the spectrum, but in this sense, I am.
Will you hop in if there's a movie that you haven't seen before? You walk into the living room, your wife has it on. Will you? It's 20 minutes in. Will you just sit down and start pick up where it is, or will you be like, no, I have to see the beginning. I have to see the whole thing.
If it's Fight Club, the answer is yes. But my wife would never be watching Fight Club.
Okay.
You know, those ones that you can come into the middle of, the ones that you've seen a bunch of times.
Okay.
You know, Blade Runner, Fight Club, all ones that my wife is not going to be watching.
Sure.
Right? What's the God, I can't believe I can't think of this movie. They made like 4 of them where Bruce Willis is a cop, and it's a
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, why couldn't I say Die Hard? This is, people will look back on this, and well, people won't, but I might look back on this as the early warning signs that it was all coming unraveled.
Well, I do catch myself doing that sometimes, where you could describe something and give 1,000 details, but not come up with a name. Like, where you could have gone on and given me probably some lines from the movie and still not come up with
No, but that's how I do it now. If I get stuck in one of those, I just go game show on it, and I just start telling
right.
details. And usually they can get it like that, like Die Hard. How could you not know Die Hard?
Alan Rickman, Shoot the Glass. Come on, you know it. Everybody knows it.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay. Come on. No, I want to tell you about my accident-prone day I had the other day. I want to see if you've had anything similar in the past. So one of my jobs these days I've been doing for a while now is painting, like interior house painting. Right? I
like that you did the painting motion with your hand when you said that.
Stroke.
And the motion was painting, house painting. It wasn't like that other dabbing around.
Yeah. There's no palette. There's no
Who's the guy that
brush.
does the high-speed paintings on TV? Do you know the name of that guy?
High speed? No.
He does paintings. Takes him an hour. He does a show. He goes, "I'm going to teach you how." He's got a kind of a hippie voice.
Oh, I mean the Bob Ross from years ago is the only one I know.
Yeah, I think that's him. I never really watched that show, but I know he's a guy. He's a guy who's having a kind of a renaissance now.
Well, they're on Netflix now.
And
that's why.
I think maybe it's also we're all living in a bubble. I'm sorry because I'm distracting you.
It's fine. No. I like this. Yeah.
We're all living in a bubble of our own, design. Or like you click on things that you like, and you don't realize that you're clicking on those things on a browser or in a social media platform where they're like trying to figure you out and show you more things that you like.
Oh, yeah.
So then all at once, Bob Ross is in my life. Like I'm doing something that makes the AI mastermind think that I would like that. And sometimes it's right, and sometimes I wish I could just say, no, you got me wrong. Let's back up a few steps because we're going down a rabbit hole that I don't want to be down.
Yeah.
I had to delete all my every kind of political news or CNN feed or
that you followed,
LOL, GOP. I had to delete all of that off my Twitter just because it got to be like every time I looked at Twitter, it'd take me 10 minutes, and I was just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Because it thought that I wanted to get freaked out by the news all the time.
Right.
And I was like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, we can do that. You can try as hard as you want to avoid that and still get it.
There should be a slider that goes from kittens to Donald Trump, and you put it in the middle wherever you want it.
I agree.
And I definitely needed to head more towards kittens.
Kitties, yeah.
Yeah. So, back to your accident-prone day.
Painting, Bob Ross. Unlike Bob Ross. I had a tray of paint. I was up on a stepladder. painting something, stepped down, stepped right. I've never done this. Stepped right into my tray of paint. Thankfully, I had a tarp on the floor in this person's house.
You had the tray on the floor, not on the ladder platform?
I was painting out of I was getting my paint I was using at the time out of a bucket. Then when I was done with that, I was going to switch to rolling. So that was in like a tray, that flat tray.
So you weren't at rolling yet. You were just prepped for rolling. You were up on that ladder doing your brushwork.
Yep, that was about to be next, and then I had
transitioning into now I'm going to get some stuff down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then I had a delay when I stepped in it, literally stepped in it, and it was all up the back of my pants, my shoes, etc. You know, it's shitty clothes that you wear to a job like that, so it's not, you know, I'm not ruining nice clothes or whatever. But it's just a pain in the ass that happens. You know, it slows the day down. Then later in the day, so that was number one. Then later in the day, I was working at another one of my jobs, working at the Minnesota Wild game, selling beers. And I was crouching. It was during the game, and I was in the aisle, crouched down. All of a sudden, I feel a wet spot on my butt. Yes?
You did pee your pants.
I feel a wet spot. I'm like, what in the hell? Oh, it's wet in the back of my pants. My butt. I feel it on my skin. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I stand
Minnesota
up.
Wild. What sport is that?
The hockey team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And they only have 2 home games left, Jake. You're running out of time to catch a game this year.
They're in the NHL.
Yeah, you're running out of time.
I thought it was the Wolves or the Howlers or something like that.
Yeah, we got the Wolves. Timberwolves basketball.
That's basketball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is the Wild? What is that?
That's our wonderful hockey team.
But what are they? Is it like?
Oh, what are they?
Is it a Wolverine?
I just had a question with that. I just talked to somebody about that just a few days ago. It was Minnesota used to have a team called the North Stars. They left in 1993, moved to Dallas, and just became the Dallas Stars. So they got to keep our franchise name with a slight adjustment. Minnesota had no team, for 10 years or so. Then they said, no, you raised a bunch of money, now you can have a team again. Well, then they come up with a new name. Yeah, Wild. It's not a...
But is it just like the wild natural nature land, or is it the wild? Or is it like a guy? Did you ever see that movie, The Revenant, where it's
yes.
Civil War era, and it's like rabies or zombie apocalypse? Is that what it is? It's like a guy. It's the Minnesota Wild is ravenous zombies.
Yes. I think in theory, at the beginning, it was supposed to encompass all of that. Because the logo has there's pine trees hidden in it, but it also looks like I don't know. It's a combination of like 3 different animals. It's like an ambiguous animal head. Is that? Yeah. Am I saying that correctly?
What about that movie where Leonardo DiCaprio gets half eaten by a bear, but then they think he's dead and he comes back?
Yes, like it's that bear.
No, it's Leonardo DiCaprio, just kind of half eaten by a bear, come back to murder you. That's the mascot of the team.
This season, they're having a bad year, so yes, this season.
No, Leonardo gets it done in that movie.
Oh, that's true.
He's
the half dead part, I guess.
He's a real underdog. The beginning, it doesn't look good for him at the beginning.
Yeah.
But he pulls it out.
The half dead part.
So your butt is wet at the Minnesota Wild game.
And I bet you would never guess what caused this wetness. It was something I put in my back pocket earlier in the day, and it opened up.
Ketchup packet?
Ketchup packet. Oh my God, would that be worse? Oh my God, would that be worse? 6 ketchup packets.
Yeah, or soy sauce or...
No, it was eye drops. Lubricating eye drops.
Well, that's not bad, right? That's just kind of mostly saline salt water, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty slippery. I stuck my fingers back there, and it's lube-like.
What kind of pants were you wearing?
They're black, so thankfully you could see, but not very well. And let's face it, nobody's looking. Nobody's checking me out from behind. So.
Nobody's seeing if the beer vendor's got it.
No, God, no.
Yeah, they're too busy.
Not me.
Watching their hockey team get beat.
Yeah,
or not.
That night, they didn't even score. So
I can't believe that they don't even have the whole point of sports now is not just being a great team, but it's having great merch. Mm-hmm. Like how many? I suppose the Blackhawks are going to have to get rid of that mascot or that logo thing, or maybe not.
You would think so. Other places have had the exact same logo.
Their one is more cool looking though, and it's not caricature-y, goofy. But
Sure. North Dakota had the exact same logo on their jerseys. They were the Fighting Sioux up until about 5 years ago.
And they had to get rid of it.
And now they are the, I don't even know, the Rangers or something. I don't know. Fighting Force or something. They have some lame
Irish
team.
people complaining about that leprechaun
No,
guy that
no, no. Are you? So, if you had an accident-prone day like that, I want to know.
This.
Jog that memory.
Yeah, I know. That's the tricky thing. I'm just trying to look back on things that I've stupid moments in my history of things. Do you know the thing where somebody asks you've got a drink in your hand and somebody asks you what time it is and you check your watch and pour the drink down your front? I've done that more than one time in my life.
Nice. Are you wearing a watch right now?
This is the Apple Watch.
Oh, there you
just
go.
Because I'm monitoring my sleep and my heart rate. This ring, I've got this ring that also monitors my sleep and my heart rate and my readiness. I'm fairly ready right now, but not as ready as I usually am, because last night after the show, one of my friends that I knew from the 90s, who happens to be a pediatric doctor here, last night was the only night to see him, and he was sitting at the bar with a glass of white wine. So I had a glass of white wine. I had 2 glasses of white wine
after the show,
and that is a party. That's me unleashing 2 glasses of white wine. My readiness was off today, both by the watch and the ring.
I see.
So I'm not going to be drinking tonight any drinks.
How does the ring do anything? I don't. What?
It's got a sensor in it. And then it connects to an app on the phone that tells me things.
So that's your.
I can show you.
Is that your latest fun technology?
Yeah, this is a ring from. It's called the Oura, O-U-R-A.
Kickstarter thing, or is this like a?
Well, this is their second or third generation. I heard Ben Greenfield, who's a fitness nut and self-experimenter guy, on both Joe Rogan's podcast and Tim Ferriss's podcast, talking about this ring.
Oh, sure.
Because he does these those events where you dive into a pool of electrified water and then you fight a shark and then you run to the top of a mountain and get hit by lightning and then slide down a mountain thing.
Chug some coffee to end it.
So he's one of those guys. And he was talking about this ring to monitor his readiness, because I also was thinking at my age, I'm not dead or anything, but I can't exercise like I used to, and so I need something to justify, to rationalize, like, no, you can't work out today. I'm the guy who's not that I'm a complete maniac, but I can't. I just can't be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday kind of guy anymore. I have to say, well, Wednesday, if I feel up to it, I'll do it. Otherwise,
okay.
I do it on Thursday. Sometimes I can go 3 days exercising hard. Anyway, so I got the rings to be able to figure that out, and also to see, like, what does it depend on what I eat or how late I eat, or if I have a couple drinks, or how does that affect my sleep and my heart rate? And so I know those things now about myself. It's good. It's good for me to know those things, and you can know those things too for a price.
How have you ever thought about how your life would, like, do you think anything be different if you had stuff like this when you were in your 20s, or you wouldn't even have cared?
I think if I had my peak fame time, if when I was on all the shows and doing comic relief and HBO specials and just this giant time for me in the 90s, if they had social media then like they do now, I'd be connected to my fans. So now, the other day I was talking to, it's so great to come to Minneapolis and Acme, because this is a club, I'm connected to my fans here. The crowds are great, the shows are fun. Mm-hmm. There's other places where I know I've got the fans, but I'm not connected to them, and the club's not connected to them. So for me with social media, I want to get my followers up, but it's not like I got to get new fans.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out where, I'm trying to reverse engineer the thing that the social media is doing with me. I'm trying to get into the bubble. Yeah. I'm trying to be like, oh, I remember Jake. Now he's in my bubble. He's going to be down the street from here. So if social media was big in the 90s, I would have that connection to them, but because those people aren't on all these platforms, or they don't really get, like, the world has changed. You have to follow things that you like, or you're going to miss them.
Absolutely. Did you back in the early days to connect to stay in touch with Jake Johannsen fans? You were doing mailing lists like in the mail. Did you ever do that? Were you actually sending things in the mail?
I put cards on the table to get people's mailing addresses, and then very soon after I started doing that, there were email addresses. So I never did a mass mailing.
Yeah, okay.
But I knew guys like Craig Shoemaker used to do that I think.
Yeah, I remember there was a local band I liked in the like early 90s and got on their mailing list at a concert, and then they would send out a card on my birthday for the next few years. It's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, well that's what it's all about. If you read any of this stuff about how bands do it, I feel like comedians are a little behind the curve because we've got this ready-made world of comedy clubs that you can work, and they don't take care of everything because now you have to do your social media, but the next level is to do what bands do, where it's just like, okay, I want to go, you and me are going to go do a show in Minot. Is that North Dakota?
Sure.
It's North
Minot, South.
There's twice as many Dakotas as there need to be.
I think it's Minot, Dakota.
Yeah. So let's say we're going to go do a show there. We got to just figure out how to connect with some of the influencers in Minot, and then go out there and figure out the place where the influencers like to go. The back of a pizza parlor or the upstairs of an old sawmill or whatever. And then we'll go do our show. That's the future. The future is you and me in a van. Do you like it?
Yeah. Hashtag.
Just try and keep you. Don't sit in that. Don't sit down there. I wouldn't put those in my pocket if I were you.
Yeah.
That's gonna haunt you. That's gonna come back on you later.
Absolutely. Hashtag Minot influencer.
Every time I see somebody with a cell phone in their back pocket, I want to go over and tell them, like,
move that.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit on that. Bro.
Do you have a case on your phone? I see.
I have a case on my phone. This case has got little loops on it. So
what is that?
You can attach it to a thing that goes around your neck. I saw someone using it at a corporate event, one of the producer people. And
you can wear it like a lanyard
around your neck, so it hangs down and you look at it. But I brought the strap, but I didn't put it on today, just because I feel a little. I can't decide. It's like there's just such a fine line between, hey, that's pretty cool, and
no,
what the heck is wrong with that guy? And I don't mind that line. I feel like that's
okay.
I've walked that line for a lot of my life. Believe me, my wife will see something I'm going to go out of the house wearing to go to an event or to do a show. She will, are you going to wear that? I go, yeah. People like the way I dress. It's a thing.
What would she say about if you wore your phone around your neck?
I think she just rolled her eyes and go, oh, okay, that's what you're doing now.
No, I'm staying home.
Some battles are worth fighting, and other battles are just like, you let him do that. Someone else will straighten him out on that.
I agree. That's a perfect thing, too. I was here last night for the show. I don't know if you know that. I haven't said that yet.
I didn't know that.
Okay, I was here. You were here, and I was here. We were both here. Great. You were on the stage. I was sitting out there. I didn't come on the stage like I am now.
It was nice. Last night was a super fun show, and as with a lot of live comedy shows, there was an event in the show.
There was an event.
That was just a little bit weird.
Yeah, it made more sense when I walked out, by the way. It made more sense to me.
Well, look, this is the thing about all stories. People often judge their lives by things that they see in the world or stories that they've read in magazines. You just have to remember that all stories are just part of a life. They're not the whole life.
Very true.
What you know about your friend's marriage is just the little part that you can see. You can't see the rest of it.
Yeah.
And so what happened in the showroom was one thing, and it resolved itself, but there was obviously there's a larger context of the person's life who was in here, but then there's just the larger context of the evening, and so I had more insight because some of the characters I interacted with.
You got updates after the show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So during the show, I'm on stage and I'm kind of weaving my kooky spell and talking about the things that I'm interested in, which are a little bit weird. It's kind of like every man, and then there's some kind of sci-fi motivational, I don't know what I'm doing. And so there's a moment in the show, as there is with all comedy shows, where, you've got the audience, you get a big laugh, and then the room, they're done with that laugh, and you're explaining something to get ready for the next thing. So the room went quiet right as a woman in the crowd said out loud, I just want to go home.
Yes.
And, of course, we all think everything is about us, and fairly rightly so. When you're on stage in front of a couple hundred people, you kind of feel like, oh, well, that might be about me.
Oh, I mean, I can tell you, Jake, from where I was sitting, it seemed like it was definitely a response to whatever was going on stage.
On stage, right.
And I was so confused.
So I immediately like if people in the crowd seem like they want attention, I immediately give them attention.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I have a whole plan for the rest of this show, but let's see what you have. Let's see how you handle being the center of attention. And as soon as I said, "Oh, you want to go home? Are you okay?" And I'm trying to also be nice. Now, I don't just want to be mean, even though it sort of seemed mean what she said. But as soon as I engaged with her, she was kind of mortified that I was talking to her, and it was obvious to me that she hadn't got into that. And so I said something like, "Well, you can go home if you want to go," because she also it was like sad and kind of desperate. It was her last cry to be understood. It was like, I just want to go home. And so I said, well, you can go home. It's okay if anybody wants to go home. And I could tell that she was kind of injured. And then someone over on the other side of the room said, this is awkward.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, this is all okay. You can go home if you need to. Let's give this nice person a round of applause. And people, not everybody clapped, which is what I'd hoped, but enough people clapped. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, let's be nice to this person.
Yeah, I softly clapped.
And the attention got off her, and I went back to the show. And then a couple minutes later, I looked back to that area, and I could tell they were gone.
Yep.
They got up and they left.
Yes,
and I didn't know. So then that was like, okay. I was pretty sure. And I did say on stage, look, it'll hurt my feelings a little bit if you go, but I can handle it. Because it does hurt your feelings. When you're on stage and you see people get up and leave, it's just like, what the fuck? You can't. You
better stop somewhere.
You just start thinking, like, what did I say? My show is not a get up and leave show.
No. I mean, there are comics that are known for walking audience members.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying any kind of terrible sex stuff. I'm not being sexist or racist. Or
I believe what you were saying right before that was something about Sting's sex. From
tantric sex.
That was the last thing I heard. Like, okay, that's not setting people off. Something weird's going on.
So she left, and then I did the rest of the show. It was nice.
Yeah.
We had a good time. Nice. Thank you. Big round of applause. People came. So then I'm at the place where I'm selling CDs and T-shirts after the show. My little merch stand. And, and like I said, Minneapolis is a town where I know a few people. Like my mom's best friend came to the show last night. And
oh, wow.
And then a couple of other fans that I've known over the years. And so I'm having interactions, and then I put everything back in the bag, and there's a few people standing nearby. They're talking, and I don't really recognize, but it's the woman from the show.
Oh.
And she said, hey, we just wanted to come back in and say, it wasn't about you. You were so nice, and I really appreciate how you handled that. I mean, she told me this, so that made me feel really good. And she said, it's not about you. I had an interaction with someone at a table nearby, and then the staff came over and told me I had to be quiet, and it was and that was a misunderstanding because it was really this other person's fault who was pissing me off.
Oh, yeah.
And, it was really upsetting, but it wasn't about you at all. We're a big fan. We really enjoyed the show. They weren't big fans, but they said, we really enjoyed the show. I want to buy a DVD. So they bought. She bought a DVD and her friend bought a DVD.
No kidding.
And she was like, "We really enjoyed the show. We want to have our friends see this. We'll come back and see you again. Thank you so much for being so nice." It was really kind of like I said. You get this little part of the story, and then there's this bigger part of the story. So that was very satisfying for me. I mean, like I'm at a point in my life career where I love doing the shows, but I really like connecting with people, and that it feels like it's a thing. My dream would be to do a comedy show and then say, okay, well, that's the comedy show. If anybody wants to get a T-shirt or CD or have a picture, let's do that. And then I'm going to do a podcast after the show with this person who said something during the show. We're going to come on. They're going to come on stage. We're going to talk for an hour. You guys can stay and listen to that. And then after that, we're going to go down the street and get something to eat.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of dwindles down. Like first you got the couple hundred people for the show, then maybe 50 people stay for the podcast, and then maybe 12 people go out and have dinner. That would be my. That's what we're doing in Minot when we go to Minot.
I want a ticket.
So
tell me the price.
So that now, and you're going to have questions about last night after this because you were there, so you can tell me your part of the story. Do you want to tell me your part of the story now?
Oh, I mean, I can. I just want. It was mass confusion. I didn't understand because it didn't seem like it fit. The only thing I saw that made it make more sense. My wife and I were here, and we did the same thing we do a lot of times. When the headliner's done and the MC comes out, we hit the door immediately. We don't wait for that last 2 minutes. We get to the bathroom right away, or we just leave or whatever.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to talk to you.
Rock concert behavior.
Yeah, and I know I'm going to talk to you, the next day, today. So I'm not going to take somebody else's spot that wants to talk to you or whatever.
The crushing throng of fans after the show. It can be overwhelming and intimidating.
Yeah, absolutely. However, so we were the first ones, besides them who left halfway through the show. I think we're the first ones out when the show ended. Mm-hmm. They were outside, not in the bar area here. They were outside, like on the stairs there, coming into the club when we left. Still having, she still seemed very kind of down about whatever was going on, and one of the gentlemen that was with her was still kind of like consoling. So I thought, okay, this clearly wasn't about, this is something that they brought in to hear or something. It wasn't about whatever happened on the show.
No, it wasn't about the stage. And I think it was about this misunderstanding of an interaction that she had where she felt and now some of this is me filling in the blanks because of what I'm about to tell you next.
Okay.
So she felt like, I think, she was being a good person by asking someone else to be quiet during the show, and then of course the staff saw her do that and have a kind of a heated exchange, and then they told her to be quiet, and she was having a hard time saying, no, it's not me, it's that and then she was frustrated. Mm-hmm. I think that's what happened.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure of that. But I will tell you, so after the very charming and nice and life-affirming interaction I had with the woman who, during the show, it was the weird moment of the show. But also, it's one of those things that if you're at a show where that happens, you're like, oh, that was, I'm glad we went out. Something weird happened. It's like, oh, we were at a special thing. So after they left, I went into the bar to have my 2 glasses of wine.
Yes.
Which is when I didn't know that was going to happen. I sat down with my friend at the end of the bar, and then this blonde lady comes over and stands right next to me. Like, I'm talking to my friend facing this way, and she's on my shoulder, like her hip or her upper arm is touching my upper arm. That's how close she's standing to me. And it doesn't make sense that she's come to that end of the bar, because the bartenders, it's the kind of thing that you would at a crowded bar, someone standing that close to you because they're trying to get the bartender's attention to get a drink. Right. That's what it seemed like. But then when I turned to her, she kind of said hello, but not really, and then I said, did you want to come over and say hi, or did you enjoy the show? And she was like, yeah, and she's making faces at me and just being sort of incoherent and kind of mean. And it was bizarre. Yeah. And my friend then starts asking her if she speaks English, which I thought was a weird question, and then he's asking, does she speak Spanish? And I found out later that she had been over and talked to him before I got there in Spanish. She only spoke Spanish to him. But she was speaking English to me, and then she's kind of saying, "You're just a jerk," to me. And I said, "Listen, I don't know you or what you're upset about. Did I say something that upset you?" And she says, "You're just a dickhole." And I said, "Look, I don't know what I did to upset you. I feel bad that happened, but you've told me the thing, how you feel. And so I'd like to talk to my friend right now." But she kind of won't get away from me. She's like right next to me, and then leaning over onto me and kind of touching up against me in a way that's like, look, this is like #MeToo. Yeah. Like, what the hell are you doing, lady? I don't want to be touching you. Back off. So I got to get out of my chair to get the chair between me and her so that she can't be touching me. And I'm trying to explain to her, like, you need to leave. And if you've got something else you want to say to me, then say it. But then you need to go and leave me alone. I want to talk to my friend. I mean, we're done here. I think you've said your mean thing to me. And I didn't say anything mean back. I'm not going to say anything mean back to you. And it was like she was drunk or on drugs, and then the manager came over and kind of told her that she had to go. And then I realized she was with a guy, and I had seen them talking at the bar earlier. She was with some guy, her date.
Okay.
And then afterwards, there was some extra information to made me believe that she was the person who the other person was interacting with during the show.
I see.
And it was really this kind of angry, but not. She wasn't slapping or hitting me, but it was like you're just that saying stuff that's so mean that it's kind of. Are you flirting with me? What is?
Yeah. What are you egging me on to get? What reaction are you looking for?
Yeah. What are you doing? And I don't want to be. I want this to be over. I'm not going to touch you.
No.
I'm not going to yell at you. I don't want to. But yeah, it was just weird. And then, like I said, afterwards, I think that was the person that the other person asked to be quiet.
Yeah.
And
did you offer her a DVD to go away?
No, I didn't. Let me be clear. I didn't give those other people.
No, I know you didn't.
They bought
but
those.
I'm saying in desperation, maybe. Here's a parting gift. You need to go now.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. I think that's a mistake. You don't want to reward bad behavior.
No, that's true.
You want to reward good behavior.
That's true. You advertised 2 different T-shirts that you were selling after the show.
Yes.
Yes.
One says you can't win them all, and one says sex robot.
Yeah.
And I stand by those T-shirts. They're great to wear to a funeral or a bachelor party.
Are they here at the club right now?
Yeah.
I have cash with me. I want one of the, not the sex robot one.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Although, so on the way home, my wife and I was like, all right, I want you to tell me your reactions to the show. I like, when you come with me, I like going to the show, then I do the podcast and bring up the things that you like. It's a different perspective. And one of the things she loved was the sex robot jokes. Loves the sex robot jokes.
Great. Well, maybe she'd like a sex robot T-shirt.
Maybe.
They can be very effective when worn by a woman.
Yeah, I bet.
Like a guy, you put on the sex robot, it's aspirational. Like, I would like someone to engage me as a sex robot. Just to kind of, all I want is the sex part.
Yeah.
You get what you want, and no strings attached. But if you're a lady and you get that shirt, I guarantee you're going to have sex.
Yeah,
if that's what you want.
No, without question. Without question. The shirt that says "sex robot," does it have your name on it anywhere?
Yeah, on the back.
It's on the back. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see that. All right, that's good. That's good.
It's like a little logo thing. It's not
the Jake this thing or something on the back, or is it your
might
name?
say Jake Johannsen.
Johannsen. Okay, well that's good.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you aren't selling them without branding it with your name.
You got to brand your stuff.
I just didn't see it on the front, so I wasn't
don't have
sure.
a good brand consultant. Well, I didn't want to take away from the effect of the thing, to have people read it and then, that's fun. Anyway, I'm not very good at this. I don't understand the whole branding thing. I want people to have a nice souvenir of the show, but if that's what they want, but I'm not. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm the first person to admit that.
Now it is time for us to break down today's opening day of baseball.
I heard that this morning on the radio. I can't believe it because it's not even April. It's March 28th.
Yeah. So what do you think of the Twins' starting lineup this year? Do you think? I'm kidding.
Oh,
I saw the look on your face.
Well, they're all baseball players, so that's great. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, we have got some guys.
Like in football, they'll bring
some guys with experience.
In football, they'll bring in a soccer player as a kicker or a something like that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But in baseball, it's always all baseball players.
Yeah.
Right. They never have a highlight guy.
I don't think.
Is that even a thing still? Highlight, where they catch the ball in those scoops and.
I only know highlight from Miami Vice. Somebody was in the theme, like the beginning to Miami Vice. Somebody was playing that.
Yeah, they used to play. They used to play it in Florida, and you could bet on it.
Are you still surfing?
I surf a little bit. I started doing jiu-jitsu, so now I'm fighting people. Not people. It's the other people in the class.
Yeah, you mentioned the jiu-jitsu on stage, so that's legit, huh?
Yeah, that's a real thing that I'm doing. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah?
I'm enjoying it. I would do it on the road, but that's the thing that you can't do every day. It's exhausting. It's an unbelievable workout.
When you were in there, who were you in a class with? With other people?
All the other people who want to learn jiu-jitsu.
At what age? People your age? People that are like...
No, there's nobody else my
10-year-olds that are starting?
People my age, but the people who are my age are people who started much younger. Like there's a guy my exact age who's a black belt.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for 20 years. I've been doing it a year and a couple months. So there's nobody my age in this gym or academy.
Sure.
That has been doing it that short of a time at my age. So the closest guy in the classes that I regularly go to, my closest buddy is 10 years younger than me, and most of the guys there are more like 20 years younger than me. And one of my routine training partners is 30 years younger than me.
Oh, okay.
And and so it's frustrating for me because we started at the same time, and it kind of goes back and forth a little, or it had been going back and forth. Like I could beat him and he could beat me, and now I'm really stymied by him because he's younger and he really knows this shit now, and it's hard to get past him.
What's your? You plan on sticking with this what's your goal? Do you want to get to a certain belt, or just to do it to stay in shape?
The belts are sort of frame of reference of like just this is how much you've been coming and what you've achieved. The reality is when you roll with someone on the mat, how you know right away, like, this guy's better than me. I don't care what color our belts are. This guy's better than me today, or I'm better than him today. Yeah. That's what happened right now. So it's kind of about that, and it's very comrade, brotherhood, sister, fellowship, fraternal, sistery. There's women there too, and so it's like we're all on the same side, but we're trying to fight each other. It's a pretty great vibe. I've never done a martial art thing before.
No, I haven't either.
And I really love it. And because it's not striking, there's no hitting. It's grappling. So you're fully doing it, and the other person is fully doing it, and you're tapping them because you're about to go unconscious. They've got you a hold of your neck, or they're going to twist your arm and break it. So you tap, like, don't break.
Were you worried at all that woman last night was going to put you in a chokehold? Getting so close.
Look, I am not. I don't want to fight anybody, but I would say that I'm fairly confident against a person of the opposite sex who's a little drunk and doesn't know any jiu-jitsu. I can probably handle it.
There you go. Another thing my wife pointed out that she loved was all the gender stuff you did. Like the gender fluid and this and that.
Well, that's kind of a new stuff that I'm talking about.
Okay,
so that's good.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it too much on the podcast, but
no.
Spoiler alert: it's confusing.
Yeah, no, that's as far as I want to go with that. Okay. No, we're not going to ruin it. No, but
and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. My biggest concern talking about that stuff is that someone is going to get their feelings hurt, and what I'm more just trying to talk about, like, this is a very new kind of conversation that we're all having, and it's confusing.
I will just say this: one of the things we have in common is we have like your daughter's 14,
yes,
right, and mine are 12 and 10. Yeah. And I will just say this: that it is crazy the fact that when you were that age and I was that age, that wasn't a thing. That I don't know if it existed, people weren't talking about it. But now, like, our children are more aware than we are.
There's kids at my daughter's school that are identifying as the non-genital gender.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It's just different. It's just different and new. And some of it, I want everybody to be able to do their own thing and be happy, and let's not give each other a hard time.
Sure.
But what's troubling to me sometimes is that I can have that attitude, and if I make a mistake, it's like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. And I'm just trying to say, like, look, it's not an easy world that we're trying to build right now.
Yeah.
Where everybody's allowed to do whatever they want. It's a complex world, and so everybody's got to be gentle with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you think? This just hit me. Do you think that at some point this is comparable to, there's still tons of racism, but when there was like when there was still segregation, and then there was a younger generation that then was like, no, mom and dad, you racist pricks. Like, we're actually okay with being friends with people that aren't our color,
Yeah, so the comparisons that I would draw are the race one, but then also just the way homosexuality, being gay, is much more accepted and just acknowledged as wow, that's who this person is.
Yeah.
Than it was when I was younger. It was something that people just didn't understand, and they made fun of it because they didn't understand it, or they were afraid of it because they didn't understand it. And so I'm trying not to be making fun of something I don't understand. I'm trying not to be afraid of something I don't understand. But it's It's confusing, and now what's the analogy? We all live in the moment that we're living in, right? So when some guy in the 1980s dressed up like Michael Jackson and put on blackface to go to a party, that was a dumbass who didn't know any black people, and the context that he was doing it in then is very different to the context that we're judging that person in now.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just saying the context that he did it in and that we're judging him in is different. I'm not saying whether it was okay that he did it then.
Right.
I'm just saying the context is very different.
Yeah.
And so you wonder, like, 100 years from now, are we going to be like, well, of course dogs vote in the presidential election.
Exactly.
You know, of course they do. They're our best friends.
Yes. What? They have a dog in the fight. They're the dog.
Yeah. Oh, we are so close to electing a dog president. I feel like that's one thing that America could probably agree on is which dog should be president.
I think so.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's naive on my part.
I would go for a smaller one. Not a big dog. I'd go for a smaller one with more energy.
Oh, well, I'm with you on dogs. I feel like as a younger guy, you're really into that power thing, and the bull mastiff seems like a cool dog. But then as a pragmatic person who's had a child and dealt with pets, I don't want a dog that takes a bigger dump than I do.
No.
You know, right? Because I wouldn't want to have to pick up one of mine and put it in a bag and carry it to the nearest trash can.
No.
So I don't want a dog that I have to deal with that. I like a nice medium-sized dog president.
I agree. Before we run out of time here, I want you to tell me about, I saw that you did a big tour with Russell Peters last year.
I did. Yeah, it was amazing.
What was that? First of all, I mean, I got to ask, is someone who's headlined for so long, I mean, that means you're not the headliner on that tour.
It did mean I wasn't the headliner, and I definitely missed that. And that was a nice thing. As amazing as that experience was, that I couldn't believe how much I looked forward to the end of 2018 and this beginning of 19, getting back to headlining my own dates. It just gave me a new appreciation of being able to do my show, like that experience last night of doing a longer show and connecting with the audience and having it be my night. I really love that. That said, you know, so I got in touch with Russell because we had a mutual friend who said, oh, Russell's a fan of yours. And so we got in, and I said, I'm a fan of his. You know, I do these corporate events. And in the early 2000s, someone had asked me if I knew him. And so I had Googled him, and I realized, oh, God, this guy's fine. I can't believe I don't know him. And he's internationally successful. And so I'd been following his career for those 10 years and seeing little things about him, listening to him on Joe Rogan's podcast and whatnot. And so this person said he's a fan of yours, and I was like, I am a fan of his. And he said, well, you should call him up. So I did. And he told me, look, I really was a fan of yours before I did comedy, and I just wanted to kind of tell you that. And I'm telling him, look, I love this international thing you're doing. I've just started to try it. I've been to Ireland, and did the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And he said, hey, I don't want to insult you, but would you ever want to come on the road with me as an opener?
Okay.
And I said, insult me? I'd love to do that. And so he brought me along. And he's just the most generous guy. I mean, I got paid to do the shows, but you know, he's got a whole crew of 11 people. So you join this family and you travel around the world. We went all over Australia and Asia. You know, Jakarta, the Philippines, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Tokyo.
Wow.
We had a 6-week tour over there, and then came home for a month and then did a 6-week tour of London and the UK and Europe. You know, Germany, Norway, Slovenia.
Wow.
It was Sweden, Denmark. It was just the greatest experience. And then he brought me along to do a bunch of dates in the U.S. as well. And he's just the nicest guy. He's an amazing stand-up. A lot of American audiences don't know him. Yeah. Because he's got an international appeal. And I mean, we would walk down the street in Kuala Lumpur. We're in the mall. He's got to have security. People are coming over to take selfies with him, you know. And so it was a great experience. It was great to watch him do his thing. You know, as a headliner, you don't get to see another headliner. Yeah. You don't get to see another headliner do that many shows. To see how he did that many shows in front of those really big audiences. So I got to perform in front of 12, 8, 10,000 seat audiences for, you know, 12 weeks. I don't know how many shows we did.
Wow.
Hadn't added it up. But to see the way he does it, and he's got 2 guys doing cameras, so he talks to the audience, and then they shoot them on the camera and put them on the big screen behind him. So he's got a big screen that's most of the time it's just showing his face. So if you're sitting in the back of this 12,000-seater, you can see a blown-up version of him. But then if he talks to someone in the audience, they put them on. So Russell can, in a 12,000-seat arena, create the intimacy of a comedy club setting. And when you watch him do it, it's conversational. It feels like you're at a small venue. And as a comedian, you can really appreciate the skill that's involved in that. I don't know if the audience gets how, like, that what he's doing, the effect that he's creating is incredible.
Well, if anybody's gone to a show at a large venue, they've seen what.
So to travel
it doesn't
around,
work.
to see him do his thing, to experience his generosity, to be gracious with me and say to the crowd, Jake Johannsen, he would say nice things about me on stage. All the things we did, he's the best. I would fight somebody who wanted to say bad about Russell Peters. I will fight them.
With or without jiu-jitsu, right?
Well, he's the guy who kind of got me started in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it was funny. As soon as you said that, I was like, and thanks to Russell, I got into jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
So I might. Well,
look at that.
I had met him before we went on tour, and I had heard that he was doing it, and I said, I think I'm too old for that. And he said, no. Go to a gi-only place, where you wear the pajama kind of outfit.
Okay.
Because that's more of a traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's not going to be as aggro. He said, don't go to a MMA gym or anything where they're punching. And so he kind of steered me a little bit in a direction to go. And it turned out the guy who's the Renato Magno, who's the professor at the academy that I go to, is from the lineage of the Machados, where Russell goes. And,
oh, wow.
And so it just worked out great. So I got started doing that just a little before we went on tour. We trained a couple of times while we were on tour, and I'm kind of on the road. Russell just got a couple stripes on his blue belt. I mean, Russell's into jiu-jitsu.
Look at that.
As I said. Yeah.
How was, so this is like first-class travel, hotels,
Dude,
best ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The nicest. So before we went on the road, he told my manager, I'm going to spoil your client. And he did a little bit. But, like I said, it was great.
I remember seeing something online a year or so ago where he was selling a house somewhere that was millions and millions of dollars. I know he's got tons.
He's got so many amazing. He has an amazing life. I mean, you watch his Instagram. He's hanging out with Mike Tyson one day. He's meeting Quincy Jones the next day. He knows all these legends from hip hop because he's a fan, and now he's famous enough that he's friends with all these guys. So yeah, he's having an amazing life.
Did your family come along at all?
They came to London to see the shows in Wembley because we were there. All the UK shows, we stayed in London for the week in a nice hotel, and so they came over. So all the hotels were in that kind of Four Seasons kind of zone of niceness.
Yeah.
First or business class all the time. First class on Emirates Airlines. I've done that. If you roll back in my Instagram, you can see a tour of the first class bathroom on Emirates. It's big enough for 3 people. There's a shower in there.
What?
Yeah, there's a shower and a little closet where you can hang up your clothes. And
did you do it?
I didn't.
To say you did?
I didn't. You had to. If you wanted to take a shower, you had to kind of make an appointment because the flight was a certain amount of time and people go in there for periods. So I used it as a bathroom, and then it got busy as a shower room.
Do they have bathtubs on any airplanes? That would be my idea of absolute luxury.
Would work just because of the sloshing back and forth. But the little on Emirates Airlines, the little box when you're in first class, you get in your seat, and there's a little door. There's a kind of a pony wall that comes up.
What? So it's like a.
There's a pony wall that comes up to about your chest high when you're standing up, and then you sit down into that, and you close the little sliding door. There's a TV that's the width of your seat in front of you. So what is that, like 2.5, 3 feet wide?
Yeah.
TV. That's what you watch your movies on.
What a deal.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great trip. I've got a frequent flyer number on Emirates now.
When are you using that again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you see this? An airline I've never heard of it called Wow Air. Did you see this story this morning?
I heard that they went out of business. This is the kind of exciting life I have. I flew on Wow Air with my family to go to Iceland for a vacation a couple summers ago.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'd always kind of wanted to go to Iceland, and let me tell you something. If you are listening to this and you like nature, if you like hiking and waterfalls and glaciers and mountains and amazing scenery, like you're on the moon. Mm-hmm. Or not, the moon is maybe, but it's just unbelievably beautiful, Iceland. So we went there. We were there for 2 weeks. I'd recommend go there for 3 weeks, rent a van, and circumnavigate Iceland. That's how my daughter described it. So we camped in the van and drove around the country, toured the whole country. But we flew there on WOW Airlines because they were a discount airline.
Yeah.
And like super discount. Like you have to buy everything.
Sure.
On the plane. We had our full water bottles, and they didn't have the exact right amount of the ratio of passengers to bathrooms was off, so you had to decide if you wanted to go to the restroom, you needed to go early because you would have to get in a line. Like if you waited until you really had to go, it was going to be a tough one.
Oh no.
So yeah, wow.
Wow is right.
Yes. So I'm not surprised they went out of business because they were operating at kind of the
must have been
the edge of financial whatever.
Must have been.
What did the story say about it?
Well, yeah, the stories are saying that they announced it like in the middle of the night. People have round trip tickets. I saw someone wrote on Twitter, "I'm in freaking Germany. I live in the United States. I need to get. Now I'm stuck. They're not giving me a refund. I have to find a new way home."
Yeah. Wow.
Could you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, WOW Airlines was a kind of a kooky experience.
Yeah. I mean, I've taken Spirit, where you pay for every single piece of this and that.
Well, so WOW was some Icelandic business people started. Iceland was a little bit in some ways not ground zero, but a lot of the global financial crisis, there was some naughty people doing some naughty things with banking in Iceland. Like their currency got frozen, like you couldn't spend it anywhere or exchange it or get your money out of their banks.
Oh.
And then they really, their recovery from the global financial crisis was to sell Iceland as a tourist destination. And it worked. That's why you want to rent a van, because the hotels are going to be full unless you book a year in advance, and you want to have control of your itinerary. So if you're driving around the country, you don't want to have you're spending the night, if it's a clock, right? You're spending the night at 11 o'clock, but you're still at 3 o'clock. You're going counterclockwise with your tourism. You don't have to backtrack to see the things you want to see. So it's better to go in a van. So WOW Airlines kind of piggybacked on this, selling Iceland as a global tourist destination, piggybacked and enhanced it. And they were, all their flights, like you could fly on WOW Airlines from the United States, and they would have a stopover in Reykjavik, Iceland, and then they would try and pitch you like, well, why don't you're having a layover, why don't you stay in Iceland for 3-4 days, do a little tourism around Reykjavik before you go to Europe or on your way back. And so they played it that way. And when I was in Pittsburgh before I went on the trip, it was funny because we were going on WOW Airlines, and I was meeting all these other people in Pittsburgh who were saying, yeah, well, we got tickets. They were like $200 round trip to Iceland, so we're going there for vacation.
Recruitment. They're recruiting. I love it.
I highly recommend Iceland as a vacation spot, and I would steer you away from WOW Airlines, but they're out of business now. But it was one of those ones, if you're prepped for it, if you know, like, just get a sandwich, get a bottle of water, maybe throw on a diaper. These are the budget travel tips I've got. When you can't afford first class on Emirates Airlines, throw in a diaper and head over to WoW Airlines.
This is a great place to end it, Jake.
Thanks. I hope people will be able to make it out to a show
Yes.
one of these times. JakeThis.com is my website.
Yes.
You can follow me on Twitter at JakeThis or JakeThis, I think, or Jake Johannsen on Instagram. I can't remember. You can like me on Facebook. Sign up for my email list so that we don't have to. It takes all the guesswork out of everything.
And you have a podcast that people should listen to,
right,
too.
The Jake This of Jake Johannsen podcast, which is pretty much all nonsense. There's some good interviews that I've done in the past, but lately it's just been me talking to my friend Nigel and just talking about current events and silliness. It's a fun respite from whatever terrible thing happened to you today with your back pocket full of ketchup.
Exactly. Thank you, Jake.